I was standing behind my son Derek's work truck on a hot afternoon, staring down at the open tailgate. It was sitting exactly 34 inches off the pavement. For decades, hopping up into the back of a pickup truck was as natural to me as breathing. It was just something my body did automatically. But that afternoon, I put my right hand on the hot metal, lifted my heavy work boot, and my leg just started to tremble. I tried to push my weight up and absolutely nothing happened. The muscle simply was not there to do the job. I looked down at my thighs covered by my old denim jeans and realized for the first time how much empty space was left inside the fabric. They had been quietly shrinking for years, and I had ignored it out of pure stubborn pride. I stepped back, leaned against the fender, and felt a very cold flash of fear in my chest. That is the exact moment you realize that if you lose your legs, you lose your house. You end up sitting in a room with linoleum floors waiting for someone to bring you a plastic tray. If the legs go, freedom goes right along with them. I always thought I was doing the right things to stay strong. I ate my eggs every morning. I had my chicken breasts. I figured protein was protein and that it would automatically turn into muscle like it did when I was 30. But my daughter Megan finally explained what was actually happening inside my legs. She sees older folks lose their mobility every single day at her therapy clinic. She told me that after 70, the muscle fibers just stop listening to the usual protein. You can eat a dozen eggs and your body will only absorb a tiny fraction of what you actually need. The door gets heavy and the body stops pushing it open. The researchers call it anabolic resistance. I just call it a quiet betrayal. The heavy protein we eat just passes right through the system without ever reaching the muscles that desperately need it to step up onto a curb. I realized right then that forcing down more scrambled eggs was not going to save my independence. I needed food that could slip past that locked door. I spent months paying attention to the older ways of eating, the things people relied on before we had plastic tubs of synthetic powders. I found 5 specific seeds. Not pills, just 5 things that grow in the dirt that actually bypass the stubbornness of an aging digestive system. I'm going to walk you through every single one of them today, exactly how I use them. And I want you to pay very close attention to the last one I mentioned, because that specific seed, the one I grind up every single morning before the sun comes up, is the reason I can hop into the back of Derek's truck today without a second thought. I am not a nutritionist. I am not a doctor standing in a white coat. I am just a man who felt his own strength slipping away, got terrified of becoming a burden to his family, and decided to figure out a different way forward. Independence starts in the legs, and you have to feed them right. The first thing I had to figure out was how to get complete protein into my system without overloading my digestion. Megan brought over a bag of something called quinoa. I looked at it and told her I was not going to eat birdseed. But she sat down and explained the science. It turns out it is a complete protein, meaning it has all the pieces your muscles need, but the molecules are much smaller than what you get from a piece of meat or an egg. They slip right through the intestinal walls. An older stomach can actually absorb 85% of it, compared to barely 60% from eggs. But you cannot just boil it like rice or it tastes like chalk. It has a bitter coating that blocks the goodness. You have to soak it in warm water with a splash of apple cider vinegar overnight. Then you cook it in bone broth. I have an old friend from the warehouse named Paul who was losing weight fast after he retired. He started eating a warm bowl of the soaked quinoa every morning. Within 2 months, his shoulders started filling out his shirts again. He told me his body finally felt like it was keeping what he ate. The second thing caught me completely off guard because I used to throw them in the trash every October. Pumpkin seeds. When men get older, the hormones that build muscle simply pack up and leave. Without them, building strength feels like trying to start a car with no battery. But pumpkin seeds carry the exact heavy metals, the zinc and the magnesium, that force the body to make those hormones again. I read a paper from Germany showing that men my age who ate just 3 tablespoons a day saw their hormone levels jump up 23% in a matter of weeks. Their muscles started growing without changing anything else. But you absolutely cannot eat them raw out of the bag. They have compounds that will block your digestion entirely. You have to roast them in the oven or grind them into a powder. A fellow I know from church named William read about this and started running them through a cheap coffee grinder. He mixes 2 spoonfuls into his morning bowl of oats. He told me the constant fatigue he used to feel carrying groceries into his kitchen just disappeared. The third seed is something a lot of folks from my generation look at sideways: hemp seeds. But let me tell you, when your legs feel weak, half the problem is inflammation. Your body is fighting a fire inside itself. These little seeds are packed with a rare protein that is almost exactly like the protein already floating in your blood. Your body does not even have to work to digest it. It just recognizes it and sends it straight down to the legs. A study from Canada showed that older folks taking this seed increased their muscle thickness by 35% more than folks taking whey protein. It wakes up the dormant cells in your legs. Linda started sprinkling a few spoons of raw hemp seeds over her meals. You never cook them because the heat destroys the good fats. She just puts them on her food exactly as they are. The dull ache she used to get in her lower back when she stood at the sink almost completely vanished because her body was finally repairing the tissue. The fourth one changed how my energy held up during the long afternoons: chia seeds. Now, the problem with getting older is that you cannot always eat huge, heavy meals. You get full fast, and between those meals, your body starts eating its own muscle just to survive. That is exactly why your legs shrink. But these tiny black seeds do something incredible. When you soak them in liquid, they swell up and turn into a thick gel. You eat that gel, and it sits in your system, slowly releasing fuel into your blood for 6 straight hours. Mexican researchers found that older adults who ate this gel kept a perfectly steady level of muscle fuel all day long, instead of the spike and crash you get from regular food. I have an older cousin named Robert who was losing weight so fast his doctor was getting worried. I told him about the gel. He started soaking 2 tablespoons in a cup of coconut water for 20 minutes until it swelled up. He eats a spoonful in the afternoon when he starts feeling that hollow weakness. He told me it acts like a slow drip of pure strength right into his thighs. And that brings me to the one that changed everything. The single most important dietary change I made after that humiliating day staring at the tailgate. Flax seeds. If you want to stop your legs from shrinking, you have to stop the enzymes that are actively tearing them down every single day. Japanese scientists found that the unique compounds in ground flax seeds literally override age-related muscle loss. They block the shutdown. They proved that men over 75 who ate ground flax seeds gained more actual muscle than guys who were just doing resistance training and eating eggs. It forces the body to grow when it wants to shrink. But here's the absolute catch. You cannot eat them whole. They will pass right through you like tiny glass beads. You have to grind them fresh. The oils go bad in a few hours, so I grind mine right when I wake up. I take 2 tablespoons of the fresh powder, mix it with a little warm water to make a paste, and I eat it on an empty stomach before I do anything else. It hits the system right when the body is looking for materials to either build or destroy. I give it something to build with. It took me a long time to accept that the rules of my body had changed. I could not just force my way through it anymore with a stubborn attitude and a plate of meat. I had to get smarter. I had to start grinding seeds in a coffee maker and soaking my food like my grandmother used to do. But when the alternative is losing your home and having a stranger help you out of a chair, you do what needs to be done. Muscle does not vanish by magic. It vanishes when you stop giving your aging body fuel it can actually break down and use. You do not need to change your whole life by tomorrow morning. Start small. Get a cheap grinder. Buy a bag of flax. Pay attention to what your body is trying to tell you. I'm going to go help Derek clean out his garage now, but I will be right here. Take care of your legs and they will take care of you.